What's up, YouTube? It's the Action Figure Grader coming back to you with another video. And I thought, in honor of the new Obi-Wan Kenobi series that is debuting today on Disney Plus, we would take a look at a number of different Obi-Wan Kenobi collectibles, everything from action figures, loose graded, mint on card. We also have trading cards. We've got a prototype. A number of different really cool items that I thought were worthy of talking about as we head into this series. I got high hopes for this series. I have not watched it yet as I film this, but I'm very excited about it. It has the potential to be very, very good. We have Ewan McGregor, we got Hayden Christensen, we've got the Inquisitorious. It's just got everything lined up perfectly to have an awesome series. So let's dig into some awesome Obi-Wan Kenobi collectibles. The first one is a double telescoping Ben Kenobi. This is by far the hardest of the three double telescoping saber figures. Obviously, we got Luke Farm Boy, which is fairly easy to find in high grade. Darth Vader, which is pretty tough and very expensive. And then we got Kenobi. Kenobi is definitely the most expensive. This one was graded AFA 20, poor. There's nothing poor about this figure. It is a very, very difficult figure to find. The reason for the low grade, I'm sure, is because the saber appears to be missing. The inner filament is not missing, but it's actually broken off. And it looks like it maybe is also missing part of that inner filament. So as a result, it gets a really bad score. Anytime you've got a double telescoping saber figure where part of the inner filament is missing, or if it's missing altogether, you get a no grade, NG, which is very common. If you're missing part of that inner filament, or it's no longer attachable, then it will also really hurt the grade, no matter what the condition of the figure itself is in. And this one is an AFA 20, as you can see there, but still, give me a break. This is one of the few holy grails from the licensed figures because it was only made for a very limited time frame. It sold for $4,400. That is a big boy number. As a point of comparison, there was an AFA 80 or 80 plus, I don't remember. It sold several years ago, pre the last couple of years of massive price run-ups. It sold for between $28,000 and $30,000. So for an AFA 20, obviously the price is quite a bit less, but you're still talking some real big boy money for those of you with deep pockets. That gives you a data point for a very low grade double telescoping saber Obi-Wan Kenobi. I'm going to say only one Kenobi for the rest of time because I know Nick so well, fellow YouTuber Obi-Wan Kenobi. So prepare for that for every video moving forward. I'm going to be misspeaking. This was a 12-back A Obi-Wan AFA 85. Wow, what an incredible item. Unpunched, just a gorgeous example. And this one sold for $5,999 plus $61 shipping. So, you know, this is, other than the SKU on the footer stand, this would be the next earliest 12-back A or 12-back Obi-Wan Kenobi, and the price reflected that. I mean, that's just a very unique, very low population item in terms of a high-grade Kenobi. Here's another one. This one was a 12-back B, 70 grade. And so I question whether this is a legitimate sale. It says sold, and, you know, maybe somebody was willing to pay that, but, and maybe because it's a gray hair on a 12-back B, maybe that's very rare. I don't know. I'm not familiar enough with all the different hair shade variations versus the card back combinations. So potentially this is a very rare combination. I don't know the answer to that. But it sold for $4,409 and change plus $20 shipping. Again, you know, the only explanation I have is that the gray hair version of Ben Kenobi is tough to find on this card back. So that's the only explanation I can come up with for that sales price, given this AFA 85 earlier 12-back A. But that's pretty insane to see that price. Here is a 12-inch figure, 1978, 12-inch Kenobi. Now this is still mint and sealed box, and it's still got the window on there. Pretty good condition overall. Usually that flap is what suffers the most damage. Let's see if we can get a shot of that flap. The flap seems to, you know, have some bend to it, but overall really, really clean. Probably like, I would guess 75 plus condition, somewhere in there. That one sold for $900 on free shipping. Only one bid, and that was back on March 6th. Here is an 80 plus Return of the Jedi 65 back clear blister. So you know this one's going to command big money. Archival case, 80, 80 were the subscores, but because they were such high 80s from in the minds of the grader, it got the 80 plus. One little price sticker there, and it was punched, but that still sold for $800 plus $20 shipping. So again, further proof that clear blister Return of the Jedis in high grade, you got to be paying some big money for them. Here was a Power of the Force AFA 85 92 back. This was obviously a yellow blister, which is very common for these Power of the Force 92 backs. This one, again, 85 grade, though. 85, 85, 90 were the subscores. So beautiful unpunched example. That one sold for $2,499 plus $65 shipping. So Ben Kenobi on the Power of the Force card is pretty expensive. And so, you know, I would say that for an AFA 80 quality, you can cut that price in half or more. $1,000 to $1,200 should get you an AFA 80 example. But because this one's so high grade, you're going to be paying big boy money. Here was a good, I think, a pretty fair deal, really. This one was an AFA 85 baggie, ESB-A baggie, $550. I don't know if that's fair or not. You'd have to ask the baggie expert over at Rogue 5 Toys, Chris W. But $550 seems like a pretty good price for a very high grade baggie. And the other thing I wanted to point out is AFA 85 loose graded Kenobis. And so I asked Chris, you know, over at Rogue 5, he knows these loose graded figures inside and out because he's always selling them. And I said, hey, what does that go for? He said $450. Every single time, $450. And this one sold for $430 plus $468 shipping. So it was a little bit lower than what he expected. But he said that anytime he lists an AFA 85 loose graded Kenobi at $450 shipped, it sells immediately. So that gives you a rough price, you know, target to aim for. $435 to $450 is about the going rate. And it probably depends a little bit on the hair color too. I don't know which one's more rare, but you got the dark gray, the gray, and then the white hair Kenobi to choose from. This is what I call the mascara Kenobi because the eyes have that really deep, dark paint that you often see on him and on Han Solo as well as Luke Farmboy. So that's just a factory paint kind of variation. This is one we covered in a video recently. This was a Gentle Giant prototype. 12-inch Gentle Giant, and that one sold for $1,525 on 43 bids. This was shipped from Hong Kong, so big money for these unpainted Gentle Giant prototypes. And I thought now we would dig into a few key issue comics and what the prices have been doing there. Star Wars #2 has been on the upswing, folks. It has been unbelievable to see how much this book has jumped heading into the Disney Plus series. Star Wars #2, the first appearance of Obi-Wan Kenobi. Absolutely beautiful cover. And this one was a CGC 9.8. That sold for $5,500. Now, this is my personal opinion. If I'm going to be spending this kind of money on a CGC 9.8, I'm going to go ahead and go for Star Wars #1. You can get Star Wars #1 for the same or not much more money. And Star Wars #1 has much better first appearances with Luke Skywalker. I would assume Darth Vader, Princess Leia. To me, that's the better book to buy. But this is I'm not trying to say this is not a gorgeous book. It certainly is, but I would not pay that kind of money for it. My hunch says we'll definitely reevaluate maybe 3 months down the line after the Obi-Wan series is come and gone and people have moved on to something else. My hunch says that Star Wars #2 in a 9.8 will drop back down to earth, just like Star Wars #42, the first appearance of Boba Fett did. That thing got up to $3,500, and I just saw one that sell for $2,300. So there's massive swings depending on what's going on with live action Disney content. And if you're patient and wait for after the show, then you can often get a much better deal. Here's another example. This one was also a 9.8 in the older style case, off-white to white pages, that still sold for $5,000. Again, be patient on this book. I personally wouldn't even touch this price. I'd probably maybe go to $3,000. I don't know. But to me, if I'm going to spend that kind of money, I'm getting Star Wars 1 every day. CBCS 9.8. And this one had white pages, but it just shows you the massive price difference sometimes between a CBCS book and a CGC book in a 9.8 grade. This one only sold for $3,301 on 56 bids on May 22nd. So that's a pretty massive price premium to get a CGC graded book versus a CBCS 9.8. And I don't know how long that's going to last. You know, maybe CBCS catches up and there's that price delta starts to equalize. But as of right now, the market has spoken, and CGC 9.8s are always going to be worth more than CBCSs until something changes, either with their labels or with their reputation within the collecting community. but there's always a discount for a CBCS 9.8. This is another book that I think is interesting, not right now, given everything that's going on with Disney Plus content, but Star Wars #4 is another book I'd like to pick up. This is a great cover. It's got Luke, Leia, and Obi-Wan on there, along with Darth Vader. And again, Star Wars #4 in a 9.8, that's sold for $1,350. Now, if you can get that for sub $1,000, maybe later this summer or into next fall, I would consider that, because that is a great Darth Vader cover. And I've got a mini kind of Darth Vader vintage comic run going with Star Wars 35 and 20. I don't remember the numbers now, but you know, I've got several different Darth Vader covers, and I'd love to get that one to add to my collection, but certainly not at the current price point. This is the other one I'd really think about, and this price point's pretty attractive. I'd consider this one. This is Star Wars #24. This is the first solo standalone non-adaptation story for Obi-Wan. It's kind of a flashback story with a younger Obi-Wan. This one was a CGC 9.8 with white pages, and that one just sold on May 8th for $386 and change plus shipping. I'd pay that. I'd pay that all day long. I've got Darth Vader's first non-adaptation solo story, so I'd like to add this one at some point to kind of go along with it. That's a really cool companion book, I think, for my first Vader book. Here's another one we've talked about in the past. This is Star Wars #10. This is the first appearance of Darth Krayt. And, you know, there's potential, I think, that we see Darth Krayt in the Obi-Wan series, and that seems to be what the market is predicting. This one just sold for $550. I think that if he does show up, this price will probably hold, if not go higher. But if Darth Krayt does not show up, this book's going to fall back down to earth a little bit. So just keep an eye out and see what happens in the series. But it's a fantastic cover, Outlander. This is a Dark Horse Comics from 1999. And anytime you got a first appearance of Darth Krayt, that's a pretty cool book. Let's dig into some trading cards, shall we? This is #2 of 5. So there's only 5 of these made. This is signed by Ewan McGregor, Obi-Wan Kenobi. That sold for $2,603. I know nothing about trading cards, but that market is just as crazy as everything else. This is only a 2021 Topps card, but because it's only 5 of them ever made, that price really was pretty stratospheric. This one is one of 10 made. This is Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan Kenobi in The Phantom Menace, a very young version of him. That sold for $2,000 on one bid. Here's another one. This is one of 40, also signed by Ewan McGregor, a little bit later card, or later version of him. That sold for $1,948. So clearly there's a lot of demand for those. I really like this one. This is a 1977 Wonder Bread insert. Gem Mint 10.0 PSA card. $1,800 took that one home. I'd much rather have this card than any of the others, just given how old this card is and the fact that it came from Wonder Bread. So pretty cool card there. Next up, we've got a lightsaber. This is a Master Replicas Obi-Wan Kenobi Episode 1 lightsaber. And I could not believe these sales prices for these sabers, but this one sold for $1,833 on 29 bids. Man, that market is really crazy. But very cool item, don't get me wrong, but it's just crazy what people will pay for those sabers. And then finally, we got a Hot Toys Alec Guinness version of Obi-Wan Kenobi. That sold for $589, and I double-checked and a cross-reference versus some other sales for this exact same item, and they were all around that $550 to $625 range. Anyway, just thought ahead of the new show that you guys would like to see some of the interesting prices for Obi-Wan Kenobi Collectibles. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Please consider subscribing. Please leave a like and comment below. It really helps out the channel. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll be back soon.